So for several months now, actually it's been a while, I've had several friends ask me, how do you feed your dogs? How did you figure out what to feed them? I feed them raw, and I feed them lightly cooked. So this morning, I've got our morning breakfast ready to put together here so that you can see how I do that. And then I've also got, as you watch the video, the evening meal is also prepared there for you. So I'm not an expert. Let's just put that out there up front. I use the Forever Dog Life as my guide. It's got recipes in here. Unfortunately, I have a dog with severe allergies, so I can't use all of the recipes that are in this book, but I do put together as much as I can. And I've tried to simplify it and streamline it down to where it's just super easy for me to put the dog's food together. So with that being said, let's get started. I've got some green beans, some broccoli, and some Brussels sprouts. I'm going to pop in the microwave and start that cooking while we put everything else together. It takes about 6 minutes. There's enough green beans in here that you can, I usually spread them out over about 3 meals, so they'll have enough for tonight, and they'll have enough for tomorrow morning as well. So there are, I usually try to use fresh vegetables. These are frozen because we're in the middle of winter in Colorado and there's not a great selection of fresh vegetables right now out there. So that's why we use the frozen ones at the moment. And that's fine. I never use canned. Cans have too much salt, and that you lose a lot of vitamins with canned foods, okay? Just for people and for dogs. So I want to start there. I want you to see what I'm doing and not necessarily me. So I'm going to put this over here. I start with about 1 inch of hot water. I get the tap water running as hot as I can and start with about 1 inch in the bottom of their bowl. Then I am going to add some supplements. This is a mega mushroom powder. It's an immune defense. There are 10 different kinds of mushrooms in this. I use this because I take it myself. So we'll start with the mushroom powder, and it comes with a little scooper in there. I give the dogs, my dogs each weigh about 55 pounds, 56 pounds. They get a whole scoop. And I also take a whole scoop. So I put mine together at the same time I'm doing theirs because I take my vitamins in the morning as well. So there's the mushroom powder. I also want to put some coconut oil in their food. I'm going to put links down below for everything I put in their food so that you guys can see. And if you want to buy the same things, that's great. And if you want to explore on your own, that's great too. About 1 tablespoon of coconut oil in each bowl. And I like to get the water extra hot so that it melts the coconut oil. And you don't have big chunks of coconut oil. That's one of the reasons why I get the extra hot water in their food to get started with. So a little bit of coconut oil. I need to get a little bit of fish oil. Fish oil, I have a little measuring thing somewhere, but I usually give them about 1 teaspoon of this ultra pure fish oil. I get it from Life's Abundance. There'll be a link for that down there as well. So just about 1 teaspoon of fish oil in each one. I use chlorella a lot. This is something that you want to use very sparingly. There's a really great article on Dogs Naturally magazine about how much to put in your dog's food, but especially if you do vaccines or your dogs are in an area where you've got heavy metals in their water and things like that. We have a lot of heavy metals out here, and this will flush those out of your system. I take this. I also give a very small amount to the dogs. Now, this comes with a scooper as well, and I put that in mine. But for theirs, I usually only give them just not even an 1/8 of a teaspoon. I just sprinkle a little bit in there. It goes by weight, and the article in Dogs Natural, I'll try to put a link to that down there as well, gives you how much you should give by their weight. I also put a little bit of flaxseed. This is an organic flaxseed. Not a lot, just a little bit. Now this is something, and 1 scoop of this is about it's maybe a teaspoon in their food. Then I'm going to add some turmeric. This is also an organic turmeric, and the bag is huge. I think I got 3 pounds. It'll last me for the rest of my life. So there's some turmeric, about a 1/4 teaspoon in their food. Now you'll see later on in this video, you've got to watch the whole thing to see how I split everything up for their morning meal. This is also from my micro ingredients. It's marshmallow root that aids in digestion, and also actually it is really great for acid reflux. If you have acid reflux like I do, just put a little bit in your own drink. Marshmallow root. Slippery elm bark also coats the stomach and helps with digestion, as you'll see in some of the research that you might want to do on this. My go-to for research is, of course, the Forever Dog Life books. There's 2 of them. And also I use a lot of information from Dogs Naturally magazine, which is online magazine. You don't have to subscribe, but you can go in their online search and look up just about anything for raw food. So those are some great resources. Milk thistle, good for their liver, kidneys. I give this, Zella doesn't like to eat these, so I throw hers in her food. Levi, here's your vitamin. And I give 1 to Levi. Just because, well, he's a senior, and it is good for him to have their milk thistle. So he takes a thyroid medication, so I'm going to put that in his food here shortly, as you'll see. And it sounds like our vegetables are done, so I'm going to grab those out of the microwave. Like I said, I usually steam fresh vegetables for them, but right now we don't have a very good selection. In fact, the broccoli was looking pretty sad the other day when I was there. So they each get a broccoli crown. Levi absolutely loves Brussels sprouts, so give them a nice big Brussels sprout. And about a tablespoon of green beans. Like I said, you know your dogs. You want to adjust whatever you're feeding them by their weight. When I first started doing this, I was feeding them way too much, and they both gained weight. They both got up to close to 60 pounds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when your dog's supposed to weigh like 55 pounds, that's like a lot, 5 pounds. So they both have evened out. They're right at between 55 and 56. Okay, so you got to watch the rest of the video to see how I cut up this vegetable, because I do pre-cut their vegetables at night. And if you're making this, you may want to make a big batch, and you may want to cut them up and put them in the blender and then put them in the freezer, whatever. This is what works for me, and this is how I feed my dogs. So do what works for you, but hopefully this will give you some good ideas. So I've got about a cup each of chopped vegetables. There's carrots, there's apple, there's sweet potato, there's some salad, there's some zucchini, there's all kinds of stuff in there. So, and I put this little divider in there so that I know I've got just about the same amount on each side. So yeah, there's probably a cup in there. Just toss that in to her side. Yes, zucchini, apples. There's quercetin in the skin of apples, and it is great for allergies. So that's their vegetables. And now comes the meat. So, oh, let me not forget. I got to do their dirt-based probiotics. I almost missed that one. Dirt-based probiotics. Also, great article about soil-based probiotics on Dogs Naturally magazine. I'll put a link. I get this from 4 Leaf Rover. It is some really good stuff. So let's put that in there. Probiotics, they need to have probiotics if you're, especially for feeding them like I'm doing this, even if it's raw or cooked. Okay, so I've got here about 1/4 of a pound of ground meat for each dog. I get a package, a pound package at the grocery store. This is some ground lamb, and I cut it in 4ths, and then I wrap it in some cellophane and stick it in the freezer. That's how I know I've got a 1/4 pound. It makes it super easy. So you've got a pound of ground lamb, cut it down the middle, this way, cut it this way. You've got 4 easy pieces. Just wrap them up and stick them in the freezer. You do need to freeze your meat for about 3 days. That's what's recommended. So for her today, I've got some elk, and for him, I've got some turkey. Same thing for the ground turkey. Turkey is good. It's easily digestible, and he's a senior. He's like 15. So at any rate, here's a 1/4 pound of ground elk. I'm just going to add this to her food. It's still somewhat frozen. I took it out of the freezer last night, kind of thawed it for about an hour, and then stuck it in the fridge so that it would continue thawing, but it's still a little bit frozen. Now, Zella is allergic to turkey. She's allergic to so many things. That's why she's eating something besides turkey. She's also allergic to beef and salmon, and the list could go on. So she eats bison, elk, lamb, anything like that. Usually I look for what's on sale. So that's their meat. And I'm going to stir this all up. I like to get it good and stirred because I've got all the supplements that they get in there. And they're, yeah. So I just mix it all in so that they don't just eat the meat off the top and not eat everything that they need to eat. And trust me, they love this. It's usually gone within a minute. For Zella, for Levi it takes a little bit longer, but it goes pretty fast. So that's all mixed up. This morning they're going to get some pumpkin, and as you watch the rest of the video and see what we do at night, they get cottage cheese. So in the morning they get pumpkin, at night they get cottage cheese. I just stick his little thyroid pill right inside there, drop it on top. And I like to buy frozen blueberries. I get this brand called Wyman's. These blueberries are super small, as you'll see here, and they're easy for them to eat, and they're really good. They're really good flavor. So, in fact, Rodney Habib, the nutritionist, has an entire video about blueberries, and flash frozen blueberries are perfectly fine. In fact, they preserve the nutrition in the blueberries better than just eating raw if you're eating fresh blueberries. So these are a higher quality blueberry. That's what I get. This is what their breakfast looks like when it's all put together. That's it. That's it for the breakfast. So I hope you stay tuned and watch the entire video. You'll see how I chop up the vegetables that I put together for them for the evening. I switch it up. They don't always get the same vegetables. Sometimes they get parsnips. Sometimes they get beets. Sometimes they get other root vegetables and portobello mushrooms. So this is our evening meal prep. So many people have asked me how I feed my dogs. This is the nighttime version. I've already got 2 slices of fish. We're using tilapia, and it's cooking. So I usually get this at City Market. Tilapia, they each get a fillet. So that's the first thing that we've got cooking. I'm going to put some vegetables in to cook because we like to do some green beans, some broccoli crowns, and a little bit of Brussels sprouts. So I'm going to get those together right here real quick and stick it in the microwave so that we can get that started. These are the first two things that I usually do. That way, this stuff is cooking while everything else is getting put together. So I'm just going to do a couple. I've already got a couple in here, and a little bit of the of green beans. I do a couple of tablespoons of each of the green beans and the Brussels sprouts. Right now, the broccoli is not looking so good at the grocery store. So I have been using some frozen broccoli instead. So I'll get a couple of broccoli crowns out. We'll get this rolling while everything else is getting put together. So there's all that. Put a little bit of warm water in it and stick it in the microwave for about 6 minutes. And make sure everything gets thawed out. So while that's running, I'm going to go ahead and go with what I've got here. Now I've started out each one of their bowls with about an inch of super hot water. So I get the tap water as hot as it'll go to where it's got a little bit of steam coming off, and I put an inch in each one of their bowls. Now you may think that's too hot, but it's going to cool down pretty fast. And I want to be able to melt our coconut oil in it. So they each get about a tablespoon of coconut oil. Just drop that in there. Now, if your dog isn't used to getting coconut oil in their food, you might want to start them out with like a half a teaspoon. Or if they're a small dog, you want to adjust that way down. Because if you start too much coconut oil, then it can cause them to have diarrhea and some, icky things happening. So you want to make sure you start your coconut oil a little bit less. I'm going to also put some fish oil. I get this ultra pure fish oil from Life's Abundance. And like I've said before, we're going to have links down below where you can go ahead and buy the things that you see if you want to buy what I use. So I like this fish oil because I like the way that it's processed. And these guys get just maybe about a teaspoon or more, just a little bit in the bottom there. And I want to reiterate that my dogs each weigh between 55 and 56 pounds on average, and they do maintain their weight on this diet. So if you're worried about your dog gaining weight or losing weight, that's something that you'll have to kind of adjust for. Like I've said before, I've been doing this for a couple of years, and this is what I've got it refined to. So I'm just going to stick that back in the fridge, and we're going to go ahead with what we've got put together. So I typically start with, now you guys may or may not want to add chaga. As you'll see in the morning segment, I add a mushroom blend that's a whole like 7 mushrooms. And I take these too. And I also take the chaga. So this is something that you can take as well. Mushrooms are great at fighting cancers. Once again, I'm going to say that I really highly recommend getting the Forever Dog Life book because there's an entire chapter about mushrooms and what they're good for. So we're going to add a little bit of chaga mushroom. I'm going to move these for a minute. I've got all my little scoops laid out. When you buy a bag of these mushrooms or any of the bags that I'm going to show you here, they all come with a scoop inside. And these are organic and they are for humans. Me personally, after what I've read, it's not going to hurt the dogs to give them a whole scoop. So they each get about a whole scoop, which is what I take as well. It does not hurt them. It doesn't cause them an upset stomach. They seem to do fine with it. But once again, my dogs have been taking the mushrooms for a couple of years. So you might want to take that with a grain of salt. Work up to it if you need to. So that's the mushroom powder we put in. I'm going to also put in a little bit of turmeric, and this is also an organic turmeric. Once again, the link will be below. The turmeric comes with a small scoop. We're going to use that. That is about a 1/4 teaspoon. So 1/4 teaspoon of the turmeric in each one of their dishes. That's for that. Turmeric can help reduce inflammation, so that's why we use it. I'm also going to put in Zella's because she's got some allergy issues. I'm going to put about a teaspoon of this. It's called Harmony. It's specifically for seasonal allergies, and I get it from 4-Leaf Rover. I also get their probiotics from 4-Leaf Rover, so I'm going to put that in as well. This one just goes in Zella's though because she is the one with the allergies. So there's that. I use a dirt-based probiotic. I did a little bit of research on probiotics for dogs, and honestly, there's a great article in Dogs Naturally magazine. If you look up probiotics for dogs in their search bar on their online magazine, will bring you up an article about dirt-based probiotics and why they are so much better for dogs than the probiotics that you can get at the health food store. Now, I have given the probiotics at the health food store. They're not formulated for dogs. This one is. It's called Protect. It says soil-based probiotics on it, and that's what we use specifically. All right, so my fish is just starting to boil. Now, I don't like to overcook it. I want it just to be above thawed. So I'm going to put the spoon in there and turn it down so that it cools down a little bit. All right. These are a couple of things that are pretty important as far as their digestive system. We've got slippery elm, and this slippery elm powder, it's also from the same company that I buy the mushrooms from. Microorganics is the name of it. This will last like probably a year and a half, this bag, because and it's like $35, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood on Amazon. So it's not expensive. A little bit goes a long way. Slippery elm kind of coats their stomach. It aids in digestion, and I add marshmallow root extract to that as well. I also take this because it is great for acid reflux. Instead, if you're taking a Prilosec or something like that, instead, start taking marshmallow root. It works really well. You just put it in a little bit of water, drink it down, and it works great. So we're going to get one of these, about quarter teaspoon of the slippery elm for each one, and about a quarter teaspoon of the marshmallow root as well. This will help, like I said, with acid reflux. Now Zella, since she has canine kidney disease, acid reflux is a big part of that. When I started feeding raw food, like I'm going to show you tonight, and I added the marshmallow root, she quit having any issues with her acid reflux. It stopped entirely, completely, and almost immediately stopped. So that's something that, you know, is good to know if you have an issue with a dog that is having acid reflux. All right, so now we're going to get to the heart of it. And this is what I do. I prep enough food, as you're going to see here, of the raw vegetables. I prep enough for 2 meals so that I don't have to cut up any vegetables in the morning. So, because usually, like, if you're like me and you're running around and you've got too much stuff to do in the morning, so you're going to you don't have time to cut up vegetables. So I cut them up at night, and usually, I'm not going to do it tonight because I'm making this video for you guys. Typically, while I'm chopping all this stuff up, I'm also making myself a salad for dinner. So, you know, this, let me just show you this before I get started. This is Power Greens. I buy this at City Market, Kroger if you're in a different city. It's just a salad blend. And I cut that up because I like it. It's more nutritious for you than just iceberg lettuce. And I want to make sure they get the maximum nutrition. So I'm cutting up about that much, which is, probably half a cup maybe, give or take. And I'm just going to split it in half and drop it in their water, each side. And I'm also going to do another one of those so that it's ready for their morning meal as well. Once again, I don't want to have to cut stuff up. I'm running around trying to get to work. So this makes it a lot easier if you've already got it pre-chopped. What I've got here is just a little plastic container, and I put kind of a plastic spoon or scoop in between so that I've got each half so I don't have to worry about splitting it up in the morning. I split it up tonight. So as you've seen in the morning segment, it is already split up. So there is the power greens. I'm also going to cut up a little bit of carrot and stick that in there. I'm going to put that in their food for tonight. I'm also going to put it in the morning. Now, if your dog doesn't like this, because I've talked to a couple of people in there, they say, oh, my dog spits that out, or they would spit that out. Go ahead and just put it in the blender. My dogs love it. Now, they're each going to get maybe a tablespoon or so of carrots. I don't measure it. I just cut it up. Actually, on the bigger carrots, the ones that are fat and round, I will usually cut about 1 inch and chop 1 inch up into smaller pieces. Levi has got, his tongue is split from, I don't know, he was that way when I got him. So nobody knows exactly what happens, but he eats a lot slower and he has a hard time picking stuff up. So I tend to chop his vegetables a little bit smaller, just because I know that he's going to struggle with picking things up. Once again, so if your dog doesn't like carrots or they don't like salad, my dogs love salad. Okay, now we're going to put meat in here, so they love the meat. Like I said, I keep the fish just cooked enough to where it's not frozen, right? It's kind of falls apart, but it's not like I was going to cook it and eat it for myself, right? So there's that. We are going to get out a little bit of sweet potato. Once again, up to you how much you want to put in your dog's food. Sweet potato is great for dogs. I've already washed this. We've already chopped off part of it for our last meal. So I'm just going to cut off a couple of chunks. And you can see what the chunks look like. It's a fairly decent size sweet potato, and I cut off a medallion about, maybe that's what, about 1.5 inches and 1/4 inch thick. And I'm going to chop that in half and cut up some for each dog. Zella gets a little bit larger pieces because I want her to chew her food. When I put this food down, it is gone in like 60 seconds with her. I mean, and I timed it the other night, and truly, she swallows just about the whole bowl. She inhales it in about 60 seconds, and it takes Levi about 10 minutes to eat his because he doesn't inhale his food. So as you can see, I'm splitting that medallion in half. They're each getting a half chopped up. So there's a little bit for each one. Once again, and I'll put this in the description below, my dogs weigh between 55 and 56 pounds. Actually, the last time they were both at the vet, they each weighed 55.8, which is kind of crazy, but they weighed the exact same amount based on what they eat, and I'm going to attribute it to it is what they eat. So they both are healthy. As I've said before, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a vet. I'm not any kind of a professional in this industry, but I have, by trial and error over the last several years with Zella, as she has got several allergies, learned a lot about what I feed them. So now for myself, I love a tomato in my salad. They like tomatoes too. These are, once again, I get these at City Market. You can get whatever kind of tomatoes you want. You can throw a couple of cherry tomatoes in there. These are the little Campari tomatoes on the vine. I like them. They're sweet. They make my salad taste good. So they love these, by the way. They are crazy about tomatoes. One tomato, going to be fine. You don't want to go overboard on tomatoes. They can cause a little bit of intestinal upset, but if the dog is not used to them, but they're good. They're good for them. Pretty much anything you can put in a salad that's good for you is also good for your dogs. I've also got a little bit of zucchini, and we're going to do the same thing with the zucchini that I did with the sweet potato. Just chop off a little piece. They're each going to get a whole piece of this. So I'll cut that up. And I'll put some zucchini in for their morning. I didn't chop up a tomato for their morning because the tomatoes kind of get ooky if you put them in the container overnight and they've already been chopped. So you don't want to add a lot of zucchini. The skin, and a lot of people skin it. Depending on what kind of shape the skin is in at the grocery store, I also skin it as well. Because the skin of it can be a little irritating if they're not used to it. These guys, very much used to zucchini. We like the yellow squash. It is winter when I am making this video, so salad toppings and fixings are not very fresh in Western Colorado, just because of the time of year. If it is spring, summer, fall, there's a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables that I put in their food. Like I said, their broccoli right now is not looking so good, so that's why we're using frozen broccoli. All right, now I'm going to put some apple in there. This apple's already been washed. Yes, I washed the apple. A lot of people freak out at apple skins because they say, oh, the apple skin has, got stuff on it. I don't know about you, but I always wash my apples. Anyway, I wash them before I eat them, so I wash them before the dogs eat them. I don't give them a whole lot. I'm going to slice this in half. The little piece that I sliced off, they're each going to get a little bit tonight and a little bit in their food in the morning. So something that I didn't know about apples until I started down this journey with Zella and her allergies. Just a side note, she has got so many allergies that, she kind of is a hot mess when it comes to allergy situation. And that I think has a lot to do with her having canine kidney disease. But she has so many issues with that. I cannot, allergy medications are kind of off the table for the most part, which is why I give her the Harmony, and we try to mitigate her allergies as much as possible with natural foods and products, as opposed to traditional medicine or veterinary medicine. I know they want often to give you a lot of medications for that, because it would likely kill her or send her into an issue with her kidneys. We just don't do allergy medications. All right. And the last thing, I've got a container here of baby portobello mushrooms. Once again, if you get the Forever Dog Life book, there's a whole chapter about mushrooms. Mushrooms are fantastic for dogs. The stems are great for them too. There's a lot of fiber in the stems. So we're going to chop the stem up. Zella's crying for her dinner. She's making a lot of noise over there because she's hungry. Mom is taking some time because she's making a video. The stems have a lot of fiber in them, and there's a ton of vitamins in mushrooms. So they get mushroom powder in the morning. They get mushroom powder at night. Chaga mushrooms at night. 7 mushroom blend in the morning. And then at night, they usually, if I've got them, whatever mushroom I have on hand. This week, it's portobellos, the baby bellas, because I love baby bellas. I love to put baby bellas in whatever I'm making. Making a spaghetti sauce or whatever it is. The baby bellas are really scrumptious. Okay, so that's everything chopped up. And I will show you this a little bit, if you can see that. I've got it split in half for each dog for in the morning. That way I don't have to be chopping vegetables in the morning. So that we're going to put in the fridge with everything else. And I'm going to, stop growling at him. Get their vegetables out of the microwave that we've had cooking. Back up, Levi. Back up, buddy. And we each get a nice big broccoli crown. Nice big Brussels sprout. Levi absolutely loves Brussels sprouts. In fact, I got 2 in there. And we're going to get some green beans. About, a heaping tablespoon of green beans for each one. And I ran a little over, so a little bit more of that. And that's our green beans for the night. And last of all, well, not quite last, but mostly last, is our fish that's been cooking. So I turned the fish off after it started to boil because I didn't want it to just be like crumbs, fish crumbs. And so I take one fillet out, toss it in, and the other fillet. They do come up, they're a little flaky, they do come apart, but they are not like total mush. And I want to stir everything up really good. This is the point where I want to stir it up, get all the vitamins, the supplements and things that I put in there earlier off the bottom and onto all the food so that they get it mixed in really well. And so, whoops, we'll mix that up good. And part of the reason I do that is because if the fish or the meat is just on top and not mixed in, they may not eat all the vegetables, right? And you want them to eat all the vegetables because that's where they're going to get all this nutrition. Last thing I'm going to put on top, little bit dab of cottage cheese. And I get the small curd. I don't get the low fat because I think that these guys, they love cottage cheese for starters. Oh, this is a brand new package, so I got to open the whole thing. They love cottage cheese. One of their favorites. I don't give them a whole lot. They each have high calcium. Their calcium levels are a little on the high side, so I don't put a whole lot of cottage cheese. Just maybe a tablespoon on top. And I'm going to, this is the finished product. That's the last thing we put in. They're jumping up and down. I'm going to show you one of their bowls just so you can see what it looks like. This is Levi's bowl. That's what his food looks like. It looks delicious. I've actually fixed myself what I fixed him, and it is delicious. That's all there is to it for fixing their dinner. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Drop a note below. Send me a text in Messenger or on Facebook. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Like I said, I'm not a pro. This is just what I've learned, how to feed my dogs. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. Everything that I put in their food is in the link below. So you're welcome to go there and check out whatever I buy to feed them. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.